Hello, everyone. I am so excited to help you prepare for your exam today. We are going to dive into a very common and practical part of the TOEFL reading section, which is reading a social media post. These posts are usually short, but they are packed with important rules, schedules, and instructions that you need to identify quickly and accurately. I will show you how to look for specific keywords and avoid common traps, just like a pro. Let's get started and master this question type together. If you want to stay ahead of the curve with your test prep, make sure to follow my TOEFL for more expert strategies and practice sessions. We are here to support your journey to a high score, so keep learning with us. Jordan Lee. In this social media post, the name at the very top is Jordan Lee. This tells us who is sharing the information. In the context of a museum or city event, this person is acting as the official source. It is important to notice names like Jordan Lee because it helps you identify that the information coming next is an official announcement or a reminder for the public. This sets the stage for a message full of facts and instructions. Reminder for weekend visitors. The post starts with a reminder. This is a very important signal word in TOEFL reading. It tells us that the information following it is something people need to know before they go. The target audience is also clearly defined as weekend visitors. This helps you narrow down who this message is for and when the event is likely happening. The City Museum will offer free admission on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Here is the main event. The museum is offering free admission. This is a key detail that often appears in purpose questions. Also, pay close attention to the time and day. It specifies on Sunday and gives a specific window from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Precise details like these are exactly what you should look for when answering what is stated questions. The museum is located near the Old Town Square and can be reached easily by tram or on foot. This sentence provides logistical information. It tells us the museum is located near the Old Town Square. It also gives us travel options, saying it can be reached by tram or on foot. In social media posts, location and transportation details are common to help visitors plan their trip. Please arrive early to avoid long lines and bring a valid ID for entry. Now we have some specific instructions. The post advises visitors to arrive early to beat the crowds. But more importantly, it mentions a requirement. You must bring a valid ID for entry. If a question asks what you need to have with you, this is your answer. A guided history tour will start at 11:30 a.m. in the main lobby. The second paragraph introduces a specific activity, a guided history tour. We get a clear start time of 11:30 a.m. and a location, which is the main lobby. Knowing where and when an activity starts is crucial for sequencing questions. Visitors should reserve a spot using the museum's ticketing app before Saturday evening. This is a critical step for anyone wanting to join the tour. You must reserve a spot. How? By using the ticketing app. When? The deadline is before Saturday evening. This is a prerequisite, meaning it must happen before you even arrive at the museum. Check in at the information desk at least 20 minutes early to receive headphones. Even after arriving, there is another step. You need to check in at the desk. The timing is important here, at least 20 minutes early. The purpose of checking in is to receive headphones. Missing these small details can lead to wrong answers on the test. Large bags are not allowed, so plan accordingly. Finally, we have a restriction. Large bags are not allowed. The phrase, plan accordingly, is a polite way of saying, don't bring them or find a place to leave them. Always look out for negative constraints like this. All right, now that we have a solid understanding of the post, let's look at the first question to see how well we can identify the big picture. This question wants us to figure out why this person wrote the post in the first place. What is the main purpose of the post? This question is asking for the main purpose. In other words, why did Jordan Lee write this? To find the answer, we look for the most general statement that covers all the points. We see keywords like free admission and several instructions about ID, apps, and arrival times. A great tip for main purpose questions is to look at the opening sentence and see how the rest of the text supports it. If an option only talks about one small part, like the tour, it's probably too specific to be the main purpose. Let's evaluate option A together. To explain the history of the Old Town area. This option suggests the post is an educational piece about history. While the post mentions a history tour, it doesn't actually explain any historical facts about the old town itself. It only tells you where the museum is and that a tour exists. Therefore, this option is incorrect. Now let's take a closer look at option B, to announce free entry and provide visiting instructions. This choice says the goal is to announce the free admission and give instructions. This matches perfectly. The text starts by telling us about the free entry on Sunday, and then spends the rest of the time giving rules about ID, reserving spots, and large bags. This covers the whole post, so it is correct. Next, we'll examine option C, to promote a new museum cafe. Option C talks about a cafe. If we look back at our text, the word cafe is never mentioned. This is a common trap where the test includes a word that might logically belong in a museum, but isn't actually in the passage. Because it's not in the text, this is incorrect. Now, let's take a closer look at option D, to describe permanent exhibitions in detail. This option claims the post describes the exhibitions. However, the text doesn't tell us what is inside the museum or give any detail about the art or displays. It only focuses on how to get in and the guided tour, so this choice is incorrect. The correct answer to this question is B, since this option alone fully and clearly addresses what the question is asking, highlighting the importance of careful reading. Great job on that first one. Now, let's move on to the second question. This one is more focused on finding a specific fact that is mentioned directly in the post. What detail is clearly stated in the post? This question wants us to find a detail that is clearly stated. This means we aren't looking for the main idea anymore. We are looking for a specific fact. To solve this, scan the text for the keywords found in each answer choice. For example, look for keywords like Sunday or specific times. A helpful tip is to avoid choosing answers that sound true but aren't actually written down, like a museum being closed on certain days. Now let's examine option A. The museum is closed on weekdays. Option A says the museum is closed on weekdays. While the post mentions weekend visitors and Sunday, it never says anything about Monday through Friday. It might be open on those days. Since the text doesn't say it's closed, this is incorrect. Let's move on to option B. The guided tour lasts 2 hours. This choice gives a specific duration, 2 hours. If we check the passage, it says the tour starts at 11:30 a.m., but it never tells us when it ends or how long it lasts. You cannot guess the time, it must be stated. Thus, this is incorrect. Next, we'll examine option C. The free entry is available on Sunday. Option C says the free entry is on Sunday. Let's look at sentence 2 of the passage. It explicitly states free admission on Sunday. This is a perfect match. It is a detail clearly written in the text, so this is correct. Let's evaluate option D and see how it fits. The museum opened last year. Choice D claims the museum opened last year. Looking through the entire post, there is no mention of when the museum was built or opened. It's a piece of information that simply isn't there. Therefore, this option is incorrect. The correct answer is C, because the key expressions in the text directly match this option, while the other choices either provide incomplete information or clearly contradict the passage. You're doing fantastic. We have one more question to go. This last one is a sequencing question, which means we need to figure out the correct order of actions. What should visitors do first if they want to join the guided tour? This question is all about the word first. It asks for the very first step in the process for the guided tour. We need to look at all the steps mentioned and put them on a timeline. The tour is on Sunday, but are there things to do before that? Yes. Look for words like before. A test-taking tip for this type of question is to look for deadlines or dates that are earlier than the event itself. Even if an action is mentioned later in the paragraph, it might actually happen earlier in time. Let's move on to option A. Buy souvenirs before entering the building. This option mentions buying souvenirs. However, the post never mentions a gift shop or souvenirs at all. Since this isn't part of the instructions provided, it cannot be the first step. This is incorrect. Here's option B. Let's break it down. Arrive at the lobby exactly at 11:30 a.m. Choice B says to arrive exactly at the start time, but check-in is required 20 minutes early. So arriving exactly at 11:30 a.m. would actually be too late for the check-in. Also, there is something that needs to happen even before you get to the lobby. So this is incorrect. Now let's evaluate option C and see how it compares. Reserve a place through the official system. Option C says to reserve a place. Looking at reserve a spot, it must be done before Saturday evening. Since the tour and admission are on Sunday, reserving on Saturday is the very first thing on the timeline. It's the pre-arrival requirement. This makes it correct. Now let's take a closer look at option D. Wait outside until the tour guide arrives. This option suggests waiting outside. However, the passage says to check in at the information desk, which is usually inside. It never tells visitors to wait outside for a guide. Because this isn't supported by the text, it is incorrect. Here, the correct option is C, which shows that once we understand the main idea of the text, identifying the correct answer becomes much more straightforward.